Good to have you in. Supplement I take every morning. M-Drive. Ingredients powerful, backed by science. Energize, get stronger. Go to mdriveformen.com today. Free shipping, 60-day money-back guarantee. I'm not a huge fan of hypothetical scenarios for sports radio. I'd rather talk about stuff that just happened or is going to happen, or just we're talking about games last night. But hypotheticals are interesting because I do think this is what general managers think about. I think it's what owners think about. I think it's what really smart players think about. What if? So I'm going to throw a scenario at you. Buffalo hosts Miami Sunday. Buffalo's a better team. What if Tua struggles? Tua gets benched the third time. Miami misses the playoffs. And tomorrow's headlines today is not Tua impressive. What does Miami do with the number 3 pick now from Houston? I want you to think about this. Their defense is great. The number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. Their special teams are fantastic. How many blocked punts? Excellent kicker. Their head coach. We know the coaching's great. And the development, I think, on the offensive line, Austin Jackson, I never thought he would be this good as a rookie out of USC. So the defense, the special teams, coaching, great. All it's missing a quarterback. And it ain't Ryan Fitzpatrick is the answer. You have the number 3 pick. Justin Fields is available. Zach Wilson, BYU. They're bigger, look like they're stronger than Tua, more athletic than Tua, certainly more athletic. Now just think about this. Miami will never, under Brian Flores, have a top 3 pick again, ever. He's just too good. Miami has 2 firsts and 2 seconds. They got picks to play with. They can roll the dice on one of these picks. Also, another team, Tua was graded higher than Justin Herbert for almost every team, and he has not been a disaster. He's got 10 TDs, 2 picks, passer ratings low 90s, 65%. It's not a disaster. Somebody would trade for Tua. Somebody absolutely would say, I'm going to take the kid. He's still, every GM in this league, almost everyone had him graded higher than Justin Herbert. But the thing is, when you watch Burrow and Justin Herbert, they've been asked to carry not very good teams. Tua has been asked to just manage what appears to be potentially a very good team. Look at his yards per game. It's last in the NFL among qualified starters. Herbert averages almost 300 yards a game passing. Joe Burrow almost 270. Tua's at 160. And by the way, when he played a good Rams defense, he threw for 93 yards. When he played the Chiefs, he was 28 for 48. He's fine managing the game. But every time Miami's asked him to do more and win a game, that's not really what he can do.
Thank you.
And so what if he struggles? And by the way, not just struggles. Josh Allen looks bigger and stronger and more mobile and more dynamic. I've always said it's like the brother issue. It's one thing if your brother's more successful than you and lives in another state, but what if he's your neighbor and he comes home with another Lexus every 2 years and the house is bigger and the yard's landscape? That's a little more painful. If Josh and Tua are playing Sunday and Allen looks great and big and strong and mobile and that arm, and Tua gets benched again, Miami will never have another top 3 pick. Just a thought. What if he's not too impressive? What would you do? You tell me.
Maybe a different dynamic, but Flores has a great instinct for his team, and I think that's the good news. The bad news is this, Shireen. I want to see if you agree with me on this. If I'm a Dolphins fan, and I tweeted this after the game, and I don't want to rain on their parade. It was a great night, even though they still may miss the playoffs. If I'm a Dolphins fan, I can't shake the feeling that we drafted the wrong guy and that they should have taken Justin Herbert.
No question. Absolutely agree with you. I mean, you just compare what Justin Herbert has done compared to what Tua has done. There has to be that question right now. Maybe he works out. You know, the Dolphins have to hope he does. But I do think, sincerely, there is that doubt right now, and there's doubt within that organization that they picked the wrong guy. because of what Herbert has done with the Chargers this year. He's been fantastic, probably one of the best rookie quarterbacks we've ever seen in history. And I think he's going to be an outstanding pro quarterback, an all-pro, perhaps, but for sure Pro Bowls are coming his way. And I don't see that with Tua yet. And maybe it's he hasn't played enough, whatever. But you remember Herbert came out in his first game and wasn't supposed to play that day because of the injury to Tyrod Taylor, the punctured lung, that he got in there, and he looked great in his first game with over 300 yards. So it didn't take him long to really adapt to the game like it's taken Tua.
And look, the naysayers and or the Dolphins fans that would prefer to be blissful in their ignorance, not that they're ignorant, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way, it's just serenity now, plug your ears, I'm not listening, that kind of ignorance, deliberate ignoring what is going on, this idea that Herbert has this much greater array of weapons, and it's not about the weapons, it's about the guy. The guy is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa, and it hurts me to say it, because Tua's spectacular. He's got a great personality. He's a great leader. He's got the potential to be special. But right out of the gates, Herbert's the guy. And if I'm a Dolphins fan, the thing that I wake up at night and worry about from time to time is we took the wrong guy. As we have missing the playoffs.
I mean, it hurts me to say it, but I think it's the Dolphins. As impressive as what Chris Greer and Brian Flores have done down there, they're way ahead of schedule, considering that they were awful last year. So bad that I thought they were tanking at the beginning of the season. They were getting blown all the way out. Now to being a team that is playoff caliber. They may not make it, but they are good enough to be in the playoffs. And I made the mistake of disagreeing with Brian Flores in the past when I thought he was tanking, but he clearly wasn't. But I kind of disagree with him again now, because it seems like they're leaning towards Tua being the quarterback for this particular game. Maybe he's the quarterback for the future. I hope he is. I'd like to see him once he's fully recovered, a year away from that injury, has some time in that system. But I'm not sure that he's the right guy for this particular game. They need to beat the Buffalo Bills. And right now, the Bills have the best offense in the league. They're playing as well as anybody, including Kansas City, in this past month. So if you're going to beat the Bills, you're going to need to go with, in my mind, Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's high risk, high reward. You could get blown out with Ryan Fitzpatrick because bad Fitzmagic might show up or Fitztragic might show up. But I think with Tua, you're going to play within the confines of a particular offense. You're not going to blow anybody out. He's not going to make a bunch of mistakes. It reminds me of when Drew Brees was hurt and we were deciding between Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill. When they're playing the Chiefs, I feel like you got to go with Jameis Winston. But in this situation, I think Fitzmagic is the guy that you have to give a shot to get into the playoffs.
That is very interesting. You are the first person, we've been talking about this all week, you're the first person to mention that Fitz should start, which I think is really fascinating. Okay, so Des, you
when you said it back, it made me feel like I was wrong. What do you say, Ryan?
What do you think about that Fitzpatrick should start?
You know, this is the deal. I live in Miami, right? And I actually sent out a tweet after the last game. I know you guys think that RC's the only one on the show with a Twitter account, but I have one too. And I said you can pretty much count on one hand with two fingers missing the number of coaches that can actually shuffle quarterbacks not only throughout the season, but in and out of an actual game, and that everybody's okay with it. Now, with that being said, I believe that they're sending a message. The message that Chris Greer and Brian Flores sends to his team is that we're always going to go with the best guys going to give us the best opportunity to win our game. And they're going to judge that based on what they see throughout the week in practice and what they see on film. So I'm completely fine with him starting the first-round pick in Tua or the journeyman in Fitzmagic. One way or another, their message is clear. They're going to go with the guy who's going to give them the best chance to win, no matter if you're a 16-year veteran or a first-round draft pick. And I have to respect that.
But RC, the talk has been all week. Well, Tua's been the starter. We leave him in. We've been winning with this mixture of the starter and the reliever. What do you think about Fitzpatrick being the guy to start?
Listen, I don't necessarily think Fitzpatrick should be the guy to start. I believe in Brian Flores. Now, listen, I was a dude that when they made the switch, I asked the question why. I wanted to know what the reasons were behind it. And then when you saw
Tua get replaced against the Denver Broncos, it goes to mine too. So you don't think he can win a game like this? But then when you watch it, I kind of figured it out. Brian Flores believes that Tua Tagovailoa plays within the confines of the offense. He protects the football and allows you to stay in games. He will not play you out of the game. But when they get behind and when you feel like it can be your back against the wall, you put Fitzmagic in because you know he isn't scared to push the envelope. And you know at those times, because you're already losing, you're in a situation where it doesn't matter what he does. Listen, I grew up with two homeboys, right? I had one homeboy, he christened my first child. You know why? Because he was responsible. He did the right things. I knew if something happened to me and he had to take my kids, he would do the right thing by them. And then I had a homeboy who walked down the street with me to every fight. My homeboy christened my children, he wasn't there for those, but I had my other one, and every fight he was there with me. That's what Brian Flores got. He got somebody that's going to christen his children and somebody that's going to be at every fight. You need them at different times, and Brian Flores uses them perfectly.
Touchdowns, taking care of the football, all those things. However, it's interesting to see when it gets into the adverse part of the game, right? You're facing adversity and you're down and you need scores and you need some production on the offensive side. Who do they turn to? It was in the Broncos game. It was last week in the Raiders game. They looked to Ryan Fitzpatrick, the veteran player that's been with Chan Gailey for a long time. He masters his system. He understands it. He's definitely further along than Tua is. But every time that they face that type of situation, they're turning to Ryan Fitzpatrick, which tells me they're not confident in Tua being able to lead them back and finish the game. So the interesting part will be the locker room. How do they continue to respond to sit there and say, hey, every time we get into a tough spot and we need to make some plays, you go to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Why don't we just go out there and see if he can play 60 minutes and see what we can do the entire game instead of going, like you said, calling for the bullpen in the ninth inning and letting him come in and see if they can work back from a deficit.
And Brian Flores has said, or Chan Gailey has said, rather, that they didn't call the game differently when Fitz got in there. They just had to be in 2 minutes. That's why the offense looked different, and clearly Fitz moved them up and down the field a couple of times. I want to see Fitz, and that's not anti-Tua, because I think Fitz against the Bills, regardless of who they play, is going to be a fantastic story. Maybe we get to see both. That would be fun. Thank you, Matt Castle.